Are you ever in the most unlikely place where you see something that inspires you to make a quilt? Well, I was in my closet and I feasted my eyes upon this baby. And I thought, you know what? That would be fun to make a quilt with strips using a coordinating background and just let it fray. You know I love me some fraying. I am going to make a quilt that looks like my jacket. Only it's not going to look exactly like my jacket. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I love fat quarters. And there is a fat quarter bundle that I found at Joann's that just appealed to me because the colors are so bright. I can't get it out of the plastic, but the colors are so bright. Oh, pardon me. Whew. I hope this is the hardest thing I have to do today. All right. So here they are. Let's see if I can flip through them. Well, you get the picture. So I have just a plethora of colors in here. They're fat quarters, so I don't have to worry about cutting up yardage. And I have some technique that might shock you. Just a little. Kind of shocks me when I first see it, but then I get over it. So let me press these fabrics. I will share with you what they look like while I am pressing them, and then we will get to my shocking technique. You're probably going to ask why I bothered to even iron this once you see what I'm going to do. This pattern will be especially good for those of you feeling any level of frustration. Maybe the traffic was bad. Maybe your kids aren't, doing exactly what you want them to do. Could be your husband, your family. This pattern includes a release of frustration. Let me show you how. Now I've snipped little snippies at the end. See, doesn't that feel good? At first you're going to be a little bit like, oh my gosh, how can you do this? Okay, maybe I can't. This one, see, there we go, we got it. And another one. Oh wow, see? And once you get used to it, you're kind of like, ooh, yeah, this is fun. All that frustration, any aggravation, any, time you feel like lashing out. This is the pattern for you. Now, attached to my sweater are all of these strips. Actually, they kind of hung on to each other. And this is what we're going to use to make our block. Now I'm going to cut 10.5-inch squares. And see my cute little cutter bottle, see my cute little caterpillar glow? It's a little handle for my ruler. I really could not cut a straight line if my life depended on it. Okay. For some reason, I thought I was going to get 4. I should still get 4. I should get 4 10.5-inch blocks. I probably really need the bigger one for this job, but that's okay. This one's cute. Actually, let me straighten out my fabric because I am cutting more on an angle than normal. Oop. Too far down. Okay. Yeah. Unless your fabric is just one of those fabrics that's only 40 inches, you should be fine. All right. So here I have 10.5-inch blocks, and I'm using 2 different colors. I decided that I didn't want all of the background to be pink. Now, for some more variety, I decided to cut some 5.5-inch strips and cut them in the same 2 colors. Straighten this guy out. Let's see, did I get it? Yep. Okay, now I could use this ruler, but I want to stick with the same size. What does it matter since I can't cut straight anyway? I don't know, it just sounds good, so that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna measure with this ruler that I've been measuring with. Doesn't matter what ruler or rotary cutter I cut with. And I'm going to cut out strips to make a 4-patch, so we can have even more diversity in our pattern. You can just do 10.5-inch blocks. You could just do 5.5-inch blocks. You can do whatever size you want for this pattern because I made it up. So I can tell you, you can do whatever you want. All right. Now what I did with these 5.5-inch blocks is I made 4 patches. So this just puts a little different dimension when it's next to the full-size block. Now what I could do is before I make my 4 patches, I could add my strips. And you're probably thinking, oh, what are you talking about? Well, remember those strips that we tore? That is what we are going to decorate these blocks with. So I have to tear more than just one of my fat quarters. And upon further reflection, I'm thinking I'm going to cut the fat quarters 10 inches wide, or just cut off a section or a strip of 10.5 inches, not 10, 10.5 inches, and tear the other part of the fat quarter. And then not only would I have these colors in the background, I would also have the fat quarters in the background. You know, my brain, it just blah, 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 when I'm working on things like this. So will I do that? I don't know. It's just a thought. Right now, I'm going to cut off a 10.5-inch strip, just in case that's what I decide to do. I'm kind of liking the idea the more I think about it. Let me get my blocks out of the way. I don't want to cut apart what I've already cut fairly accurately. First, I need to straighten this edge. This edge is horrible. It looks like I cut it. So I'm going to line up my fat quarters by the selvage. I'll take my ruler, put the line on the selvage. My top, I think my second strip is the least wide. So I'll line up my ruler. With any luck, I will have as little waste as possible. Whoop, that's okay. We'll rip them anyway. Okay, let's make sure. Yep, I got all three. Now I'm going to do 10.5 inches. So I also thought, well, if I'm going to have a background that is print, then I should have some strips of the solid on the backgrounds. But again, this is just all formulating right now. We'll see what happens. Okay, 10.5, measure twice, cut once. Rules to live by. Okay, now this I'm going to save. And these I'm doing the unthinkable. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and snip, 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 snip. Can I do more than one at a time? No, this takes some strength, some hand strength. Oh my goodness. Oh, because I have two. I was like, oh wow. This also will show you how straight your fabric is, or how straight it has been cut. This fabric's doing really well. It's by high fashion, so that, oh yeah, so that tells me Joann's. I don't know, have I seen high fashion at Hobby Lobby? I think that's brother, sister, so yeah. Okay. Wow. This is a workout and get out your anxiety kind of thing. Whew. All right. So I'm not able to do two at a time. You all need to see it. You can do two at a time. And there are a couple quilt shops that I go to. They aren't here in town, but they are around the area. And this is how they cut their fabric. It's like, really? Okay. Now these are the white colorway for the fabric I'm using for my strip. So I should get at least 2 strips per block. So now here, let's just say I wanted to put the strips on before I put the strips together. So I've got to get rid of my selvage edge. And the great thing about this is, you know, you don't have to be all pretty fancy, because what you're doing is kind of grunge, distress. I'm not sure what we want to call it, but I love it. I like paint splatter and, you know, stuff like that. So this to me is awesome, because we're going to have some frayed edges, which just adds a whole lot of interest. I just think this is cool. All right, let's get a flower. All right, so about 4 pieces of fabric if you're using the 5.5 inch, depending on how wide you tear them. And there's no sense in going all the way over to the edge because you're going to be sewing there. So that is up to you. Now, in order to make my 4 patch, I need 2 of these. Let's get my darker fabric in here. Don't want to forget it.
Don't forget to take out the trash cans.
You know, that reminder comes up every day, and I have no idea. I have no idea how to get rid of it. Let's see. We could put some pink on the blue. That would be fun. I've got, you know, that left over, so why not? It's not frayed yet, but once I wash it, I think it'll be frayed. All right, let's see. Let's put this here. And even if one piece isn't quite long enough, it's okay because there's a 1/4 inch leeway on any of the 4 sides. So that gives you a little of a curve, I guess. Like you get a curve when you get graded. Yeah, if you don't like, you know, threads everywhere, you probably won't enjoy this project as much as I do. Okay, I'm gonna have to tear up some more fabric so that I'm getting pieces everywhere they need to be. So I'm going to sew these strips on. I will bring you over to the sewing machine so you can see how easy this is going to be. In the meantime, I will cut some more fat quarters so that I can get some other colors in this lineup, because I don't want to repeat colors on a block. It might happen because 10.5 inch blocks are pretty big, but I have, was it 12? I think I have 12 fat quarters. Honestly, I don't even remember, but I think I'm gonna be okay. I think I have enough variety that I'm not gonna have to duplicate any strips. Okay, I will meet you over at the sewing machine. All right, over here at the sewing machine. I'm still using my Rebel, so that's a plus. I actually used it to learn some ruler work a weekend or 2 ago. So I'm just going to put this down, and I'm going to sew right through the center. Hopefully it'll be the center. And then I'm going to chain piece. So I'll bring my other piece. There are all kinds of threads, so you might want to pull those out, or you can just leave them. It's up to you. That's the good thing about this. You're already loosening those threads. So if you pull them out, then you won't have to worry about them as much in the wash because we've already distressed these pieces quite a bit. Get this. Yep, that's gonna fall off. You could take a glue stick and glue down your strips if you wanted to. That is always an option. If you don't want to have to worry about them moving or whatnot. Okay. So here I've got a a string, a thread that I'm just gonna pull off. My bracelet is noisy, kind of like me. So I'm just gonna trim it. So you see where the 10.5-inch blocks would probably go faster. But like I said, I think this will just add a little interest and be kind of fun. So you can use your scissors to trim the excess off. That is totally up to you. Or you can use your rotary cutter. I think I'm going to use a rotary cutter because I think it's going to be faster. And by sewing these, you've kind of drawn up your 5.5-inch square, so they're probably not going to be quite the 10.5 inches that you would expect once I make them into a 4-patch. To trim these down, I'm going to put them upside down so I can see how big the block is supposed to be. And yes, it's going to be a little askew because it's drawn up from the sewing, and then I will just trim each edge. And then we'll make our 4-patch. Okay, don't you think I need 2 of the same color? So I thought I was going to be Little Miss Smarty Pants, and I decided I want to do just half of my 4-patch with the little strips that have been distressed. So I thought I'll take a blue and a pink and a blue, and then when I come to make my 4-patch, then it will look like this. No, I need either 2 blues with distress or 2 pinks with distress. So I'm at least smart enough to know that I can cut some more of these out, add some strips, and do a pink and a blue where the pink is distressed, since I've got half of this done. So be careful when you get all caught up in the moment of creation. I also thought, you know, maybe I have some blocks of 10.5-inch pink and 10.5-inch blue that don't have any strips on them. And maybe I have some 4-patches with the pink and the blue that don't have any strips on them either. The options for this are endless. So let me whip up my 4-patch and show you a couple blocks and how I did them. Oliver has joined me. Such a sweet kitty. But you can't help me cut. So you stay there. making progress. I have done the 4-patch with it put together and the 4-patch with the pieces having the extra strips added before I put it together. There is no sense in even putting this thing together and then adding the strips, because you really can't truly tell, and maybe it'll change when I wash it, but just at first glance you can't tell that this was a 4-patch. But again, who knows, once I wash it you might be able to tell. I definitely like this where you put the strips on and then put your 4-patch together, and then you can tell that it's a 4-patch. So I have my solid blocks of the solid fabric, and then the fat quarters that I cut at 10.5-inch strips. I cut those down to 10.5-inch blocks, and I'm interspersing them throughout. Now these 3 I cut wrong. I cut the 10.5 inches. I didn't cut them wrong. I ripped up the wrong side. So I ripped up the 10.5-inch side and I left whatever was left over on the edge. And these are what, 18 by 21, so there's probably 7.5 inches-ish. So what I think I'm going to do with those is cut them in half, because I like the pattern. Maybe even cut them at, I don't know, 2.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that, and sew them together to make a long strip, and then I can just intersperse a strip here and there in between the rows. That way I don't waste this fabric. Plus, this I think is my favorite pattern of the whole fat quarter bundle. So so that way I will get to include it in my quilt. All right, so I've got all of this stuff going on, and then I thought, ooh, I have an idea. Let me go get my idea. Instead of going just up and down or straight across, which can be up and down either way you turn it, or depending upon how you turn it, I thought diagonal. So this, I think, is a lot of fun. So I'm going to do a few blocks like this, and I will need to put them throughout the quilt. Let's see, maybe I'll put it like here. Now, something that I'm going to have to deal with, and I probably could have dealt with it at the beginning of the process, but when I sew the strips onto these blocks go and so they are going to be a little bit smaller than the 10.5-inch block. I think I'll just deal with that when I'm putting them together. Not a big deal. Okay, so now it's just a matter of putting together all the blocks that I have sewn with strips, my solids. I think I've got a few more solids that I want to add the strips to, because I've got this whole stack of strips. So, I don't want to waste them. And I have scraps that I want to give away, so any of these that are left over, I'm going to add to the bag of scraps, and we'll have a drawing. Okay. Got a good start going on. There is not really a design to this quilt. It's just fun. Who doesn't just love fun? Yeah. So I will meet you back here when I have all my blocks and my rows of strips ready to, rearrange. Oliver says hi. He's mad because I won't let him go outside because it's stormy. So he thinks that he's going to pick on me, don't you? Yeah, you think you're going to pick on me. So I have all of these blocks that I have sewn strips on in different ways, and I have a cat who's going to help me. I also have my Caterpillar swivel mat. So this mat, I have to set it down, and then it will swivel unless Oliver holds on to it. And it's got a sticky surface. It's not sticky like to the touch, but it will hold your fabric down. So I'm going to take my block, and just like I did the 5.5-inch blocks, I am going to trim the edge of my 10.5-inch blocks. And if I have fabric on the other side to trim, which I don't on this one, yes I do, I can just turn. Well, if you don't have Oliver helping you, you can easily turn the turntable. I need to put this over here because he's reaching. No. Oh my goodness, you are no help at all. Okay. And there's a little piece down here. So, under regular circumstances, when you don't have Oliver, I need to teach Oliver to turn the turntable. I have all the pieces and parts done for my quilt. So here are the strips that I've put together with the leftovers from the fat quarters to go in between. I don't think each row, but you know, we'll find out. I have my prints that were fat quarters that I've cut into 10.5-inch squares, and I left some over here. So I've got these, and then I have my stack of decorated solid blocks. Now, how am I going to arrange these? That is an excellent question. So I'm thinking maybe I will make an X with my decorated blocks and fill in with the printed blocks and the strips. So let's see how that goes. Now my favorite is this one. And I didn't go straight up and down. I didn't just do diagonal. I just went all over the place. So, you know, of course, me being me, that's my favorite block. That's the one I'm going to put in the middle. I still have quite a few decorated blocks left over. I'm going to hold on to these, and there's always that possibility that I will need to be able to fill in spots in this design. All right, so let me put my printed blocks. Okay, so now we've got a mess. Not really. Alrighty, so when you design your own quilt, you sometimes have to work through things. So what I've done is I've decided to get rid of the big X because it just wasn't working. I don't have enough blocks. And I still have my X, but it just doesn't go all the way down. And that's okay because it's not like that stands out. And then what I've done is I've made it smaller, so I have 5 blocks across, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks down. And I ended up pulling this out of my stash because I didn't have enough in order to use up, or in order to fill in this row. So I'm going to place this here. And just so it didn't look out of place, I replaced another one of my blocks with that. Now I still have leftovers. I actually have enough to do another row, but I don't know that I want it to be any longer. I guess longer could never hurt, right? All right. So the next row needs to start with a block that has the decoration that I put on it. And I cut 3 of these blocks. I'm not really going to want to repeat this block that soon. So I think, let's see, what will I do? I'm going to take this block and I'm going to use it actually here. All right, so I need a print for there. I'll put this block here. They don't want to stay. Okay, and then I have this polka dot. I'll put let's see. I'm going to put this polka dot here. This here. No, I don't want that there. Okay, so I think I can put, let's see, where can I put this? So I have 3 of these. Do I need 3 of them? I'm going to put you here. Now I have to figure out where to put this. Okay, here's some butterflies. Let me put this here. This here. And this here. Nope. And now this one is next to its sister. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take this one. Put it up here. And take this and put it down here. Whew, hope that's the hardest thing I have to do today. And there we go. And then those strips that I talked about putting in between the rows, I think I'm going to use them as the border. So I'm going to sew these all together. Oh, see, and I keep seeing things that I don't want. But I think this one's easy to fix. When it gets done, I'm sure there will be something close together, but I can live with that. All right. So I'll sew them all together, and then we'll see what it looks like once it's put together. My quilt top is complete. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just a bunch of colors. It's very grungy with the torn strips, I just like it. It makes me smile. So as you can see, I put the different strips that I cut in half of the leftover fat quarters all the way around. Now I have to decide what I'm going to do for the backing. As far as the quilting, I think I'm just going to do straight lines because I don't want to push down any of this fabric any more than necessary. I am going to Ireland in September of 2025. I hope that you will join me. I will put a link in the description below so you can check it out. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everyone. And this Monday, another half square triangle drop. So another new and different pattern to use with your half square triangle challenge. See you Monday. Bye. And seriously, stop it. Grace,